Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Jace Love Strength. This is going to be an exciting one because in this video, I'm going to ask Mitchell Hooper a question about his victory at the 2026 World's Strongest Man. But it's not just going to be any question, it's going to be a very serious question, a question that could be uncomfortable and awkward to answer, but it's an answer that we all need to know. And I'm going to let you know what the question is real quick before I set it up and play the video. But then I'm also going to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on it before he begins. And I'll pause the video several times to give my thoughts as we go through. But the question I asked him was, I wanted to know, how relieved was Mitchell Hooper when Rayno Nel failed to place that fifth Atlas stone up on the pedestal? And I had to know this because of how much was riding on it. Basically, the fact of the matter is, whoever won the Atlas Stones was also going to be your winner of the 2026 World's Strongest Man. Whichever of those two guys performed best in that event was your winner. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And and so as the event was playing out, I watched the event and I saw through the first stone, Rayno had a slight lead. Through the second stone, Rayno had a slight lead. Through the third stone, Rayno had a slight lead. Through the fourth stone, Rayno continued to lead until he dropped it. He dropped the fourth stone. And for an athlete the caliber of Mitchell Hooper and a guy with his competitive spirit, you cannot give him opportunities like that and expect to win. That was the only hiccup that Hooper needed to capitalize, and he did exactly that. So he was able to load the fourth stone faster than Rayno, and so at that's why Mitchell Hooper is your 2026 World's Strongest Man today, because he got that fourth stone faster than Rayno. Now I do remember watching it and seeing Hooper start to celebrate at that point, and then Rayno went down to pick up the fifth stone again, and I found myself thinking, Hooper might be celebrating a bit too soon. So, anyway, let's see what he had to say, shall we?
Not that you cheer for anyone to fail, but be honest, how relieved were you when Rayno couldn't get that fifth stone? Yeah, very relieved, of course. Extremely relieved. But, in the moments, I can genuinely say that I sat there with neutral feelings. Whether, if I was Matilda and I could push the stone down, I wouldn't have. I genuinely wouldn't have, because he deserved to win. If he lifted that stone, he absolutely deserved to win. And him deserving to win, in my honest opinion, if truly I believe he deserved to win, that means that I also believe that I don't deserve to win if he was able to do that. And I'd be happy for him. You'd take your hat off.
This will be the first time that I interrupt and just comment on what he just said. I think that's a phenomenal answer. I think that I think that it brings several things to the table. I think it shows a great self-awareness. It shows good sportsmanship and good respect to his opponent. Hey, if he bested me, he bested me. He deserves to win. That's the way that sports works, and that's a reality. And so it's good to him to recognize that. At the same time, I like him admitting that he was relieved. I like him, doing that, because it admits that this was important to him. Of course he wanted to win. Of course he was excited and happy when Rayno failed. Not that he wanted Rayno to fail his achievement, but Mitchell wanted to win. And so he was relieved when he was going to be able to win. But, he also says, if that's not the way it had played out and Rayno had gotten that fifth stone, he would be the more deserving man on that day, and you just kind of have to applaud him and say, good job, man, and then try to come back again next year. So I think that's a good answer. So let's see where this continues.
So yeah, definite relief, but fuck me. I was literally I was watching, because I went to extend the stone, and then my stone dropped and his stone dropped, and I stand there for a second. You got this internal clock going, and you're like, we're almost out of time. We don't have that much time left. And so it's like 5 seconds of processing, And then I throw my hands up and I'm like, yes. And then Rayno goes down and picks up the stone again. And I'm like, ah, I'm going to look like such an idiot if he gets this.
Okay, so guys, that's what I was alluding to when I was watching it live. I saw Hooper start to celebrate after he got the fourth stone up there, and then Reno loaded it behind him. Mitchell tried to get the fifth stone himself and couldn't do it, but he already saw Reno fail, and so he he was celebrating at that point. But then I saw Reno go down for that fifth stone after Hooper was already celebrating, and I did find myself going, "Oh, Hooper, you might be celebrating a bit too soon. You might regret that, pal." Uh, and in this case, seeing Hooper laugh about it himself, seeing that he had that same realization in real time, live, being the competitor in that spot, I think it's kind of funny. But it also shows again that self awareness of that moment, and so yeah, it was. I guess it's good to see him address that, and it's also kind of funny to me.
And he, he made a really good effort on the first one. Um, and one thing I am happy about on that moment in particular, my tacky didn't slip. I didn't see Rayno's tacky slip at all. Just a really heavy stone after a big long contest, and it didn't seem like equipment failure for him. Of course, there was a physical mishap on the fourth stone, but it wasn't equipment failure. It wasn't that the stone was high enough and just misplaced and slipped off. It was just like we were both at our limit, and the stone was slightly past both of our limit. Um, and
Feel like it's time for me to interrupt and comment again. So, uh, there he alludes to again the fact that Reno did have the lead through the fourth stone, and then he dropped it. He talks about there was that physical mishap. Um, it again, it shows the self awareness that he realizes that not that he was lucky, but how fortunate that he was that things played out in the way that they did. He didn't have to address the fact that Reno dropped that fourth stone there. He didn't have to address that at all. But the fact that he did, again, shows that level of awareness, shows a certain level of transparency again there, honesty, vulnerability. Um, and again, I think recognizing how fortunate he was and showing some gratitude for that. He could have just completely ignored that, but he addressed that there was an issue there with the fourth stone, and so yeah.
yeah, it couldn't have been closer. But um, of course, I'm happy the way it played out. But I'm happy for a variety of reasons, and one of those is that um, we we both had the opportunity to load that fish stone, and neither of us could because it was just too much. Um, get stronger, be better for next year, and hopefully, um, yeah, hopefully we can have a similar battle and raise that one notch.
Okay, I think this is a good time to interrupt again. So he just said, raise up and be better for ready for next year. That's what he's talking about. If Reno had got the fifth, and then he goes on after that though to say, um, hopefully he and Reno can have a similar battle next year. I'm going to comment on that because I think you should be careful what you wish for. Here's what I think is going to happen. I could be completely wrong, guys, but my prediction is this: Reno knows how close this was. And as fortunate and blessed and grateful as Hooper is to get that victory, I think Reno has to be devastated. And he has to be crushed that he was that close to defending his title, that he was in contention all 4 days through the groups into the finals. He came into the finals with the second most points, so that started him with 9, Hooper with 10. He was only 1 point behind. But then immediately after that, he starts to win and win and win, and he grows a lead over Hooper. And then he knows going into that final though, how that last event, the Atlas Stones, he knew the same thing that I knew, and the same thing that I was commenting on in my live stream, that whichever of those two performed better in that final event was your champion. So Reno knew that. Reno also is aware that he was leading through the first stone, leading through the second stone, leading through the third stone, and leading through the fourth stone until he dropped it. And he knows that dropping it is the reason that he's not the world's strongest man right now. When you know how hard you worked, when you know how hard you busted your butt, when you know how much you kind of dominated the competition, and you lose it in a heartbreaking fashion like that, I predict that Rayno is going to train with a ferocity and intensity that he has never trained with before. I predict that he is going to be out for blood. He is going to be on a vengeance tour. When he gets to the World's Strongest Man next year in 2027, he is going to want to dominate. He is going to want to say, this is not going to happen again. You are not going to be close because the preparation that I have put in, I am winning it all. That's what I expect from Rayno. And I think Hooper should expect that from Rayno. That should be what Hooper is anticipating to get from Rayno, which means that if Hooper wants to win, if Hooper wants to deny Rayno, if he wants to keep Rayno at bay, Hooper's going to have to train with that same level of intensity, that same ferocity. He's going to have to train like never before so that he can best Rayno again. If he takes his foot off the gas or the accelerator for one moment, I I don't have good hopes for Hooper next year because I think Rayno again is going to come like a bat out of hell.
But here's one thing: we're just pulling into the mall here, and gonna stretch the legs out. Rayno and I, the most number of points the top two in a contest can get, a 10-man contest for 6 events, is 60 points, or 120, sorry, 60 points each, but you can't both come first in an event and get maximum points. The most we could get is 114 out of 120 points. And we got 106 points. Rayno and I, over 6 events against the 8 other strongest guys in the world, lost 8 points, slightly more than 1 point
That's crazy.
per event.
That's
Like,
crazy.
that is absolutely absurd.
It is. It
And
is. That really
Rayno,
is.
with 52 points this year, had more points than he had last year. And we would have to look, but I would hazard the guess that 52 points would be the highest number of points by any second place finisher.
That seems like the kind of statistic that a guy like me should know. I actually don't know what the highest points in the World's Strongest Man is for a guy that didn't win the competition. Um, he's probably right. It probably is Rayno's 52 this year. I don't know that. I'll look into it. I'll get back to you guys, but he's probably right. That is probably the highest point total that anyone's ever got in the World's Strongest Man and did not win the whole show. If it isn't, it's got to be super close. 52 points and not winning, that's nuts.
Ever. If you told me I go into a contest that's 10 guys, 6 events, 52 points, I would assume that I've won that show by 5 to 10 points. It's a clear victory. So, I mean, I'm sure it makes it both easier and harder to live with. But yeah, a testament to how well we both executed and performed.
All right, guys, there you have it. We have ourselves one very relieved and happy Moose for being the 2026 World's Strongest Man. He didn't get lucky. You don't get lucky in sports like that. You earn your victories. He is your deserving champion. But you can still be deserving and also be fortunate. He is incredibly fortunate, and I think he realizes how fortunate he is, and he realizes uh, how blessed he was to get through to get through that battle and come out on top. It was not a guarantee at all. In fact, it was looking like the smart money was going the other way. So he was very relieved when Rayno didn't get the 5th stone, and it's good to hear him admit that. Anyway, I asked the tough question. We got the real answer. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, Jace Man out.